Hey everybody, it's Zach. Welcome back to the Heroverse. And guys, I just got done watching Superman and Lois Season 3, Episode 6, titled Of Sound Mind. It's such a weird way to say it, like Of Sound Mind, but another great episode of Superman and Lois. But before I go into my spoiler review, I just want to say thank you for everybody for understanding about me kind of postponing my review until today. Yesterday was a really crazy day. I've been doing a lot of Patreon recordings because I'm doing a countdown to May the 4th, which is next Thursday. So I've kind of just been super busy and I kind of wanted to take a break, from recording. But we were back, like I said, with Superman and Lois. Was really excited for yesterday's episode because yesterday's episode was the episode with Jordan pretty much, wearing his new suit. That ends up happening in this episode. I definitely have some thoughts on his first costume. That I can't wait to talk about. But this just, overall, this was like a sad episode, especially for Clark, and kind of, what I've been saying, you know what I mean? When you're a Superman, you have all these powers, like, how does Clark feel about, how does Clark feel about Lois having cancer, and that the fact that he, Clark is always able to protect Lois, how does he feel at the fact that he can't protect Lois? With all the gifts that he has. And I always loved this kind of idea with Superman because, he has all these gifts and, but the thing about his gifts is that he can't save everybody. And mainly the point of it also too is that, this episode really brought the light, with him trying to, not think about the fact that Lois might not make it. You know what I mean? Lois might not, beat cancer, and he can't even think about that. And it's in this episode, Lois is kind of pretty much, trying to tell Clark that, you need to think about this. You know what I mean? I'm human, and cancer is my kryptonite. You're not human. Bullets bounce off of you. You don't get sick. You know what I mean? You need to, for you, you might want to blow this off and think, oh, I'm going to be there. Oh, let's not think about me not beating it, but there's a chance that I might not be that. We need to be prepared for that. And that's what Clark goes through in this episode. The beginning of this episode is him being in a cancer therapy session with a whole bunch of other people that, that have, family members that are going through cancer. And he has to hear from the one that's running the kind of the group, trying to help people, get through their family members having cancer. She ends up saying that, my husband, we just lost my husband and, we have 3 kids or whatever. And, it was one of those things where I just had to let him know, just let him know that, it's okay. It's okay if you go to sleep. It's okay. You don't have to, I understand you can't fight this anymore. I'll understand. And mind you, the episode previously before this, he heard from that Priya girl, or was it Pia girl? Yeah, her name is Pia, if I'm correct. He heard from her saying that there's a thing called a pull, and it's when you just want to give in to the cancer and just stop fighting. You just want to give in to the disease. And Clark, on top of him hearing that from her, and then hearing that this lady was just okay with saying to her husband, oh, it's okay, you can let go. He does not want to he can't even think about doing that with Lois. He's like, there's no way. We're not even going to think about the possibility of you wanting to prepare your will, just to prepare if you can't beat cancer. He just can't think. He can't even think of a world where Lois won't beat cancer. He just can't think of it. And it also makes me know, it just also we all know Superman Clark loves Lois. Clark loves Lois, and Clark cannot imagine a world without Lois. And I don't we've seen comics where Clark loses Lois. We've seen it. It's not good. So in reality, it's I don't know what they're going to do, and it's always been the question of this season. And when we kind of found out, oh my God, because I was worried. Like I said, my worst fear was I was worried that Lois was sick, and my worst fear was that she was going to have cancer, and she has cancer. And now the fact I'm wondering, him worried and kind of, and pretty much confronting his fear, kind of telling Lois and just, letting it all out, saying the fact of, I can't, having that tough conversation of, I can't think of a world without you, and I can't even, process you not beating this. I can't lose you. And it's that's really big for him, because he even is like, feels like he's, powerless, that he can't save Lois. This is the one thing he can't save Lois from. And that's why he's so up on Jordan in this episode, about Jordan wanting to go out on his own. That was pretty much the other side of today's episodes, yesterday's episode. Jordan wants to go out on his own and be a hero. And he went through all the trials that kind of pretty much, Clark put him through at the fortress, about beating, the holograms of different, fighting scenarios and different fight techniques and all this stuff. He beat it. But even then, Clark is so, after having that, therapy session, he is so, he's going to the next person that he's like, trying to protect. He's like, I can't think about how I can't protect Lois right now. I need to think about someone I can protect right now, and that's Jordan. I can protect him by not letting him go out and go fight crime by himself, and as long as if I'm not there right next to him. So it's like one of those things, like I can't confront how I'm feeling about this, because he was trying to shrug it off, say, oh, Lois, I'm okay, after he was done with the meeting. And, after she said, oh, I'm going to stay, I'm tired, or whatever, he's like, you could tell he was trying to hide the fact that he feels hopeless and doesn't want to, think of the fact of me being in that same situation where I tell Lois it's okay to let go. You know what I mean? And to give up. He knows Lois won't give up, and she will keep fighting this, but he just doesn't want to come to terms with the fact that he might be put in that position. They might be put in that position where she might not be able to beat this. So he's holding on to Jordan in this episode, and he won't let him go, and he won't let him go out and go do his own heroing, which makes sense still, because yes, he was able to, Clark didn't have a teacher before to help him kind of, find, get the hang of being Superman, but even Jordan said in this episode, I have you. You know what I mean? You didn't have anybody to train you, but I have the best person to train me. I have Superman. You know what I mean? You need to let me go do things out on my own. That was very interesting, because, Jordan actually did end up getting to help Clark, when he was being pinned down by that spiral-faced villain again. I'm not going to say the spiral-faced villain's name. I keep butchering it. I don't want to keep butchering it, but I do know how it would be written out. I've seen it. You guys have told me, but I can't say it for the life of me, so I'm not even going to attempt to. But the thing is that I found out earlier in this episode, because Bruno Mannheim, of course, has Bizarro's body. He does. We found that out, it wasn't last week's episode, but or maybe it was. I think we were on break for a while, so it was before we went on break, we found out that Bruno Mannheim had Bizarro's body, and I think that was the thing that they took out of the DoD or something like that, or maybe they've had Bizarro's body. I think so, but they are pretty much, taking DNA, and they're making tests with Bizarro's body. I'm not quite sure what for. I still find it weird that he's giving villains, that have, tumors and stuff like that. He's giving villains, that are sick powers, but we're not quite sure what for yet. I'm very confused. Maybe he's just playing God, and he's setting out to save everybody. Maybe, I don't know. I'm really curious to know really what his motive is, really. Until the end of this episode, I feel like maybe we kind of got what he's trying to do. But when, the moment where, the one of the doctors told, if Superman, Superman came back to, your penthouse again, if he finds out what we're doing down here, and he's like, Bruno's like, he's not going to find out, and pretty much telling the spiral-faced villain, saying, yo, don't miss again, you got to go take out Superman before he finds out what we're doing down here. And I knew right away when Pia asks Lois out to go to lunch before before she goes into the next stage where she'll lose her taste buds, asked her out to lunch. I knew right then and there when she said, go after, this is your second shot, don't miss it, go after Superman, you know what I mean? And I'll deal with Lois Lane and keep her nose out of things. I kind of put two and two together, oh my god, is Pia the spiral-faced villain? I kind of put two and two together, and then pretty much, when it cut to break, I actually searched up the villain's name, the villain's name, and it popped up, but it also said, because, I guess they released it, since this episode really happened yesterday, they must have put it up online and said, Pia actually is the spiral-faced villain. I was correct. I'm like, I knew it instantly. I'm curious to know, did you guys know? Right after Bruno Mannheim said, don't miss again about killing Superman. Don't miss. You thought you killed him before, but don't miss this time, or whatever. Or you thought you tried to kill him before, you missed, but don't miss this time. And he's saying, go deal with him. and then Pia asking Lois out for lunch. Did anybody put two and two together? Because I instantly put two and two together. I did, and I was like, oh my god, that's like, I'm loving what they are doing here, but that also kind of makes me think, oh my god, I think it was name. I can't remember what his name was. It wasn't Mateo, was it? Or maybe it was Mateo, the dude that likes Nat. It makes me even more confident about the fact that that kid might be Bruno Mannheim's son. I'm just putting it out there. I highly doubt it, but I'm still gonna keep that theory because I feel like I feel like it's not just a coincidence that that kid keeps popping up. And this, after this happening, even makes me for sure more confident in my theory where it could be possible where like that kid is keeping tabs on Nat. Could be a possibility, which we didn't see John Henry and we didn't see Natalie in this episode, but it makes me even think even more. Maybe there's a chance that definitely that is his kid, and he told him to keep an eye on Natalie just in case John Henry tries going after him again. Maybe that, he would tell his son to go get him, or go get, like, to get Natalie, so that way, he could, hold her hostage or some bullshit like that, or, like, you know what I mean? Like, he's keeping tabs on people. I feel like that's a possibility. I'm still gonna keep that theory. It's a long shot theory, but you never know. This kind of makes me feel like, oh, it could be possible. But pretty much, by the end of this episode, we have him pretty much, we find out that it is Pia. She actually is, that villain. And, of course, missed about her second chance she missed about killing Superman because Jordan intervened, because Lois told Jordan, go save your father. He needs your help. Prove to him that you are ready. Of course, Jordan takes out all the goons, but she wipes out Jordan. And of course then, Jordan gets shot with, a kryptonite, blast by one of the goons because, the spiral face creature is able to emit sound and pretty much pins Clark up against the wall. Pins Superman up against the wall, and he can't do anything about it. He ends up getting shot. He gets angry enough to the point where he does, kind of, I forget what he does. I think he lasers her, or he must do something, or maybe he just runs into her. Either way, that she ends up getting taken out. But, Jordan was okay. Kryptonite doesn't affect him. They end up finding that out, and he's going to run more tests at the fortress. But we end up finding out, like I said, when, she goes back to Bruno, and we end up finding out that it is Pia. She's like, I'm getting weak. My powers are gone. They're wearing off. Because she is sick, and her powers are the thing that's, keeping her alive. Same as how Bruno was giving, I forget his name. What's his name? I can't remember the one dude's name. What was it? What was it? It's on the tip of my tongue on what that one dude's name was that we saw in the last episode. I'm trying to remember his name. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Let me find his name. Adam. I'm gonna just say Adam Man or whatever. Adam Man. I'm not quite sure what Adam Man's name is. Maybe it'll tell me when I click on his IMDb, because it's not really telling me what his full name is, and I don't know why I can't find Superman and Lois on here. It should be on his recent portfolio. Here it is. It just says Adam Man, whatever, Adam Man. Because I can't remember his actual name, but he gave him powers, and he had cancer, but he gave him powers. And, you know what I mean? And when it started wearing off, he started to, like, die and stuff like that. So it's one of those things where, like, Bruno Mannheim is giving people that are sick powers, and it's keeping them alive. And I think he's testing on everybody because he is trying to, I think maybe he's in love with this girl. Maybe, this Pia girl, maybe he's in love with her. Or maybe it isn't that, and he said, I will save you, meaning I'm going to save everybody, I'm going to save you. Maybe he's just on a God, trip about trying to save everybody. I'm not quite sure. Maybe he is. Maybe they are married and he's trying to save her. I don't know. Either way, he said, I'm going to save you. So it makes me just, interested in the fact of, like, what is her end game? Is this her just, maybe she is just someone that Bruno Mannheim just happened to save. He just wants to save his people out in suicide slums, and maybe, as them kind of giving them a second chance of living, everybody's doing his bidding, like, you know what I mean? There's these evil doings, and in their way, they don't find it evil because he is saving them. I don't know. I'm just loving him as a villain right now, and I'm loving that, I still don't know really what's going on with this villain, but eventually I feel like things will unravel. Hopefully they will, where, like, what's her connection? Are they like, does he just want to save everybody in suicide slums? Is he, like, maybe married to her? Does he, like, I don't know. I'm excited to find out, though. And we still have yet to get Lex Luthor. We know he's coming at some point. I'm not really a fan of who's playing Lex Luthor, but hopefully he does a good job. I also hope that we're not dealing with too much. It does make sense that like Lex would fit into like the storyline with Bruno Mannheim, because even Bruno Mannheim does not like Lex Luthor, or didn't like even Morgan Edge, because they were the people that kind of like made it tough for everybody in Suicide Slum. So maybe I could see it where like he wants to take out everybody, and maybe he'll want to take out Lex Luthor when Lex comes back into the picture because he despises Lex. I don't know. Either way, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens going forward. But the other things that would happen in this episode is that, Jonathan, what was going on with Jonathan in this episode? Jonathan, of course, had his first day at the firehouse with Kyle, and pretty much, he had to, I guess Kyle gave him an old fireman's uniform, and it was like Rusty's training uniform, and he just kept calling Jonathan Rusty until he kind of earned his way to get his own kind of, updated uniform with like, where it would say like, Jonathan Ken on it. And, he had to earn his way. Well, Jordan, of course, made fun of him and stuff, when it's in reality, like, Lois said to Jordan, saying, like, he's in training just as you are. Cut your brother some slack. And, I really feel good for Jonathan. I really feel happy for him. I really think it's cool that he's kind of in his own training to be, like, someone that saves people, kind of like how Jordan is kind of in, he's in training to save people. I do like how Jonathan has he has something, he has importance in the storyline. He found something that's important to him, and he gets to kind of like, find a way to help people, kind of like how Jordan is doing things to help people, training to help people. I do like that he's finding his calling while Jordan has his calling. I do like that they're kind of giving Jonathan something, and he's not just like someone in the background like that, because I feel like he was just always like something, always a character that the writers really gave like nothing to him. Sorry about that, guys. I have like a little bit of a cold, but I do like how kind of like, the writers are giving Jonathan finally something to do. I love it. And I know I saw an image somewhere that like Jonathan is gonna find a new girlfriend this season. He was like looking at like some books in, I think the Smallville Gazette, like at at the paper in Smallville. He was in there with some girl. So that's gonna be very interesting to see like his new kind of like new love interest. I think she was gonna be like a new love interest. I would assume so, because he just kind of like, I would say, broke up with Candace. I would say, I'm not quite sure if they kind of really didn't specify if they were actually broken up or not, but I'm eventually thinking that they will break up, and that he will like date this girl that of the picture that I saw in an upcoming episode. But also, he spent some time, with Sarah in this episode. He was doing studying with Sarah because there was like a big, finals or something like that. I can't remember what it was. And, it was really sad because, Sophie is kind of getting ignored in this episode. Sophie kind of is how Jonathan was. And Jonathan related to Sophie on the fact of, Lois and Clark, kind of paid most of their attention to, Jordan when he first got his powers, and they kind of like, paid more attention to him, and he kind of felt like he was left out and had to kind of, get their attention in some shape or form. Sophie is in the same position where like, Kyle and Lana are no longer together, and Sarah's old enough where like they don't need to kind of like, they don't need to be there for Sarah necessarily about like, oh, like we're going to make you dinner, or oh, we got to spend some time with you, or oh, this and that, because Sarah is old enough to kind of go get her own food, go find her own entertainment. But Sophie is still young to the point where like they kind of like don't even think about Sophie. It's almost like they forgot about Sophie in this episode. And I feel like in general, that's how I feel like they're writing Sophie, the character, because, she just pops on and off screen occasionally. So it's kind of like one of those things where I feel like, it's literally you guys do this to the character, literally, because we barely ever see her, but like now you're doing it in the storyline where like you're making it obvious that you guys really like, now her own parents aren't really like paying attention to her. And it's the result of them splitting up and kind of them being in their own, headspace. I mean, Kyle is focused on Chrissy and their kind of relationship like brewing, like they're no longer like kind of sneaking around anymore. They're like actually like, he's trying to find out like where do we stand? Like, I want to make this a real thing. I want you to be my girlfriend. So he's kind of like in La La Land with Chrissy, and Lana's all focused in the mayor's office and kind of like in her own element. and Sarah's focused on school. And even Lana tried, like, making Sarah, I forget, like, how, like, made, like, wanting Sarah to kind of, like, entertain Sophie while she was going off to work. And I'm thinking to myself, she has schoolwork. She has schoolwork. Like, she does not have time to kind of, you know what I mean? That just, you are the parent. You guys need to figure out a way to kind of entertain your young kid. Like, don't put it all on Sarah. I was like, what the hell? So it's one of those things where they got to find a balance. They're parents. They wanted to have a kid. They got to find that balance. You know what I mean? You can't ask Sarah to do it and she's going to fail her schoolwork, and then what? You guys get angry at her because, you know what I mean? You think that she doesn't have anything important to do, aka school. So I thought that was really weird. It's like you guys need to find a balance. You guys are no longer together. You guys need to communicate and find a balance. But like, okay, Sophie needs, we have to make sure Sophie is, fed. We have to make sure Sophie has, you know what I mean? She's, can do something to entertain herself while we're doing this and that. You can't leave it all on Sarah. You know what I mean? I thought that was really weird. That was a weird thing about this episode. But also the thing that made me cringe the most is when Sophie, because I guess when Jonathan and Sarah are, about to, like, do their, their test, was studying for their quiz, Sarah says to Sophie, oh, go get, did dad leave? And she's like, yeah, you could see that they left. She was being smart with her. I don't know why. And says, she's like, I'm hungry. And she's like, oh, go to the fridge and go get something yourself. And in reality, there was nothing in the fridge, one. And two, that's your little sister. Go help her real quick, make something up. You know what I mean? Like, you can't, come on, bro. Like, damn. I would expect, like what was it, Kyle to make her something before he left, but he was in his own element. I mean, he's so in La La Land and Love Land with Chrissy, which makes me happy that, Chrissy Beppo found someone and Kyle found somebody. I shipped that relationship, but I still felt bad for Sophie. I was like, damn. So the fact of it is that, she told Sophie to go get something and she ended up leaving. And even Lana's like, where's Sophie? And then she's like, oh, like, Sarah's like, oh, we let her, I just told her to go down and go get some food. And she's like, how long ago was that? Like an hour ago? What the F? And pretty much, Sarah knew exactly where to find her. She was at the carnival because that was one memory she had of when they were all together and kind of like they were paying attention to her. And she feels like no one really no one cares about her. No one's paying attention to her. And Jonathan could relate to that because he felt like his parents, they had their callings. They were very important. They were very special people, and he felt like he wasn't. He felt like, he wasn't important. He felt like, he didn't get any attention. He felt that way. So when he was like, Jonathan started to tear up. I felt really bad for Jonathan because that character, man, I mean, it's like you were the most paid attention to kid, and then you moved to Smallville. You lose your girlfriend. You can't make any friends. Your brother gets superpowers, and you're literally left in the dust. No one's paying attention to you because your father, which AKA Superman, is paying attention to your brother that has Superman like powers. So, and then your mother is too worried about the fact that Jordan has powers and stuff. So it's like he feels like out of the mix. And I it was something that he's like, let me try something. And it's the fact that he could relate to that. And then Kyle even saw that and says, okay, like, you might happen to have, a uniform with your name on it after all, kid. Which, that was nice. Jonathan deserved, like a kind of like, you did good, man. You did good. I feel like that character really needs that. Like, you're a good kid. You know what I mean? And like, I'm proud of you moment. And it just made me just really happy that kind of like Kyle gave him that, saying, you did a good job, kid. So, which was great. It made me very happy. Of course, after, Jonathan comes in with his uniform to Lois is more worried about the fact that, I'm waiting for your father and Jordan to get back. And Jordan comes back and says, oh, I say, like, what was it? I saved Dad, and I'm immune to kryptonite. Kryptonite doesn't affect me. And pretty much, Jonathan's like, what did I miss? And that's when he says that. And of course, he goes, like, he says, oh, look, like, you got your uniform. It says little Ken on it, little Kent. And she's like, oh, like, he said, like, oh, Sarah likes it. And he's like, you hung out with Sarah? So that was very funny. It was like his little dig back. Cause he's like, oh, were you a rapper? Like, with him, like, cause he said little Ken, he's like, were you a rapper? And he said, oh, well, Sarah likes it. And I thought that was a good dig back at Jordan for saying, like, it says little Ken, oh, you a rapper now? So I thought that was a good dig. Jordan looked like he was about to fight his brother, though. He was like, what? You hung out with Sarah? Like, oh, is there anything going on? So I thought that was funny, but I hope, the thing I really want to talk about the most, though, is Jonathan's suit, or Jordan's suit. Jordan's suit is trash. It's not a good suit. I understand it's a first suit, but I think it looks garbage. I think it looks ridiculous. They could have gave it an S on there. Come on. You could have at least gave it an S on there. But I guess in a way you don't want it to kind of tie too much in to, because if you put an S on, if you put that family crest on, your chest, you're going to instantly, villains will instantly think, oh, that's Superman's son. That's Superman's, that kid is related to Superman or this new hero. And they'll go after him because of how popular Superman is and how many enemies he has. I guess so, but I still think it would have been cool to put some sort of logo on that damn suit, or kind of give it, because that suit also is not bulletproof, it's not laser proof. There was a big kryptonite laser gash in that suit. It was like destroyed. And then when he was using he didn't even take off his goggles to use his lasers. His heat vision, which I thought was very weird. I was like, aren't you gonna break those? Those aren't like heat absorbent. You're gonna like shoot through those. You're not even taking them off like a Cyclops thing. You're just gonna laser through them. I was like, I guess. I was like, I don't know how you're gonna explain that. And especially if they have no damage, I don't know how you're gonna explain that. I thought that was a little goofy. So honestly, I hope that suit changes, because it is Don God awful, that suit. I don't like it at all. I understand it's his test suit, but it's terrible. Even Superman's first suit that he had was 10 times better than that. And I'm hoping we can get a new suit that looks better than that. Preferably before the end of the season. And again, it really upsets me, because it's like also like, it sucks, because as I get more happy about this season and like what they are doing and all the love that I have for the show, I am worried that James Gunn and Peter Safran pretty much said that there's like, I think there's only one more season in for the future of Superman and Lois, and it really bums me out that is the case. I would, and it bums me out the same way, because I did love Stargirl, and even Stargirl only got 3 seasons. I was really hoping we would get a 4th one, but we never did. So it makes me worried that, like, why would you like make this an Elseworlds thing? Same as how you got the Batman, same as how you got the Joker. There is no reason why you can't put this show on an HBO Max. If you don't want to like deal with CW or anything like that, because they like sold the CW or some shit like that, or I don't know how that all went. I think WB sold the CW under the old regime, or maybe David Zaslav when he came in, he sold CW or whatever, and blah 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 blah. But I think it's a mistake for James Gunn to do this when you could just make this an Elseworlds thing. I mean, let's be real. Titans is terrible, and that show it's on its last season now, and I think it's season 5 now of Titans, if I'm correct. And I can't believe it that went on longer than Stargirl and Superman and Lois, 2 of the best shows that I would say they both have like HBO budget, but yet they're not getting as many seasons as that crappy show. It just doesn't make any sense to me, and I think it should just be a shame to end this show. You know what I mean? When you could have just moved it to HBO Max. It's like they took the easy way out, and they just wanted to say, oh, F it, let's just scrap everything. I want to do what I want to do. Simple as that. And I don't think that's any way to kind of like appeal to fans that love DC. You know what I mean? When something works, you should, applaud it, and you should want to make it, make things to make it even better. Hence moving it straight to HBO if you didn't want to have it here on the CW anymore and you didn't want to deal with it. Personally. I know that they probably won't ever bring back Stargirl. I know Stargirl made an appearance in the latest episode of, Titans. There was a clip where, like, it kind of confirmed everything is connected in the multiverse. But, like, it still pisses me off because that's such a great show, and me seeing that scene just made me angry. I was like, this is such bullshit, because I can't believe that this is a cameo and not the other way around, where like they'd make if like Titans was off air, but they made Titans a cameo. It just made me really pissed. So I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm like, I just think it's a mistake. Like I'm really hoping we get a couple more seasons of this show. I think Tyler is the best Superman I think we've ever had. I definitely up there, like I said, with Tom Welling and Brandon Routh. I know a lot of people don't like Brandon Routh, but that's the Superman I grew up with, and I will always defend that Superman because that is how Superman's supposed to be. Like, let's not sugarcoat things. That was the most accurate Superman interpretation, up there with like Christopher Reeves. Like, that was very like accurate. And I think people are just, I don't know. You can have your opinion, but that's personally my opinion. That's the Superman I grew up with, and I'll always have always will have, a love for that version of Superman. Again, also with Tom Welling Superman, I love Tom Welling Superman, but my Superman is, like I said, is Tyler. He is my Superman. I think he kills it on the Clark Kent side and the Superman side. And this also, Elizabeth Tulloch, I think it's Tulloch, she is my definitive Lois Lane. She kills it. I think there is no other better Lois Lane we've had than her, in my personal opinion. And I just think it's a shame to not just let the show keep going. It's good. You know what I mean? If it's weird because if James Gunn and Peter Safran don't think it's good, do it. Then bring it to HBO Max and work with them. You know what I mean? Make it better. You know what I mean? Just don't get rid of it. I don't understand people. I feel like that's just so corporate. They're thinking from a corporate standpoint, and they're not thinking of like, oh, we actually care, like, that the fans like this show. And they were just like, oh, let's give it maybe one more season and scrap it. I don't want to have to worry about it. That's so corporate to me, and it's not like, oh, you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, they're appealing to the fans. Be like, oh, the fans like this. Let's do it. Let's continue it. I mean, you're letting Batman continue the Batman. You're letting Joker continue. Like, come on. Like, you can't let one thing happen and another thing not happen. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But yeah, guys, I'm really curious to know, like, what did you guys think about yesterday's episode of Superman and Lois? Where do you go? I want to know your theories for, like, where the show could go. Also, I'm really curious to know, do you guys think that Mateo dude is maybe, Bruno Mannheim's son? Maybe? I'm really curious to know. It's like I said, it's just theory. It most definitely won't happen, but it's a theory that I have. Especially even made me more kind of confident about like what Sam's worry was on that, saying, oh, this kid kind of came out of nowhere at the heat of Bruno Mannheim and everything like that. And I mean, I feel like, and he even knew that John Henry was the one in the steel suit. So he already knows for a fact that John Henry's kid, you know what I mean, he's gonna definitely keep tabs on that kid. So it's like one of those things where I can see him doing that. I could see it, especially after us finding out that Pia was the one that is the spiral-faced villain. You know what I mean? I'm starting to see things now, and I'm loving it though, because he's such a good villain, Bruno. It's someone so different and unique, and I love the way he's thinking, the way he's doing things. I still don't know his motive for why he's doing these things, but I can't wait to figure it out. But like I said, and especially with the whole like Bizarro thing, is he trying to like revive Bizarro's body? Is he trying to like revive the cells to maybe that was the missing thing, that the key ingredient that he needs to kind of like save Pia, like maybe the one he loves? I don't know. I'm just excited to see what he is trying to do. That's all. But like I said, guys, let me know what you guys thought about this episode. Let me know your theories about where this series can go, and also just let me know like how many how long would you guys like to see this season go on for? Like, and also like let me know if you guys kind of understand where I'm coming from, or like it makes no sense. Why not, just bring Stargirl over? Why not just bring this show over? Why kind of just end things when like things are just getting good? You know what I mean? It's like, why would you do that? Come on now, like, you know what I mean? It's like I expected when James came over, he would have seen that these shows were so good, and just, brought them over to HBO Max and, tried to enhance them even more. Not just say, oh, F it, get rid of it, scrap it, we're done with it, I don't want to focus on it, I just want to do the things I want to do. Because let's be real, I find it also bullshit that he is keeping, everything is pretty much, he gets to decide what he wants to keep, after the whole Flash reboot. When Flash kind of, in the Flashpoint movie, when Flash resets everything, he gets to keep what stays and what goes. It's bullshit to me. It's like, well, of course you're going to keep Peacemaker. Even though, I mean, it would make sense that kind of like that would get erased. Of course he wants to keep his version of the Suicide Squad. That bums me. That bums me out. He's only doing what he wants to do, but he just doesn't care about, I feel like, everything else. And that's what I feel like I'm seeing, because he just didn't do anything with Stargirl. He let that end when people loved that show. and he only said, oh, we're going to give only one more season of this, and then we're going to be done with the show. It bums me out, and it makes me feel like it's too corporate that he's thinking on that behalf, because because if you actually cared about, like, the fans, like, of this, of, like, you know, of, like, DC projects that are actually good, he would want to keep them around and enhance them even more. I just find it weird that he just either never checked out this show and he just didn't care because he saw CW on it and he just like, okay, let's end it, who cares, blah 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 blah. When it's like, no, dude, you know, you should actually watch the show if you haven't seen it and see why people like this show, or you should actually listen to the fans that do like this show and just make it somewhat else worlds related. Like, don't just cancel it because you just don't want to deal with it. I just feel like that's just corporate to me, and I'm really curious to know what you guys think about that. But yet again, guys, if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, put on those notifications, like this video. Love to have you guys here, part of the family, part of the channel. We're all about spreading love, positivity, and motivation. Yet again, guys, we're almost to 700 subscribers. Right now, we're at 688. We're almost to 700 subscribers. And as you guys know, this week has been CinemaCon week. Definitely go check out my latest video if you guys are interested in all the Craven news. That's actually up. It's my latest video. Definitely go check that out. I had a lot of interesting things to say. Also, you know, I think today, if I'm correct, was the Disney and Universal panel today. Not much Disney news came out, especially from the Marvel Studios panel, because I think they had a panel. But if any news or any trailer reactions come out, that I'm interested in, I'm definitely going to do some videos on them. So just again, if you're interested in any of the stuff that, you know, you heard about in CinemaCon, I most definitely will probably be covering it if I'm interested in it. So definitely, like I said, subscribe to the channel, put on those notifications, and like the video so you guys don't miss any future content. But yet again, guys, that was the video. I hope everybody has a great day, a safe day, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.